stock presentation, of one part of it. And then I'm involved with recovery, and so therefore a lot of the people I know and see are in recovery, so you frame this idea in recovery, so that, because a lot of times people won't accept it if it's in a different box, so you have to at least disguise the box as if it's, and after they open it up, it's too late, the thing's out. So you try to sort of, once they think that's not AA or something. And we have a lot of experience, all of us, as what we're not, of contempt prior to investigation. So a lot of people not only have an opinion, but they have contempt. They think they know, and it's like, and the funniest things, the people who most need certain help have they're most contemptuous. You know what I mean? So you gotta let them have their bottom, because that's basically maybe the only way it's going to trigger a movement up. All right, so what we're here for is for dinner, really. This is sort of the excuse to get together. Like some people, join Marchand, clubs. Or we go to esoteric, very weird philosophical ideas based in what they call non-duality. So non-duality. Obviously non means not, and duality means two. So basically, for you to really get a sense of non-duality, you have to see the two-ness, or what the hell are they talking about? What non-duality? I'm sort of, what's duality? I have no idea what it is, so I'll go for it, I'm not missing it. So, just, non-duality. Maybe non-duality. So not two. So duality is basic, the format that we're all living under. There's something called dualism, which is subject-object. So I'm seeing you as an object, and you're seeing me as this object, yes? But what's seeing is subject, What's seen can't be seen, so it's not an object. Can't be felt, taste, or touch. So it's a distinctly different condition. So there's subject-object. Now, here, the no-thingness is the subject, let's say. Seen is appearing in a world of thingness, which are objects. So the subject is moving through objects. It's not even doing that, but let's give the dreaming a certain reality. So it's, But from the internet, don't fucking, this is, you know what I mean? You're just trying to provoke a little relief, let's say. So here's the subject, which is seeing, and the subject appearance here is through 5 senses, and then a 6th sense, which is the what you would call the mind, noticing brains and feelings. I mean, not brains, I mean thoughts and feelings and stuff. Brains. I'm noticing a brain. That would be a self-aware brain. I'm noticing a brain. So here's subject moving through seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. And then there's the object that provides those 4 doors, so to speak. So there's experience. So this object, it's like a sedan with a trunk, 5, 4 doors and a trunk. It's not a sports car. It's definitely not a chariot of the gods. It's just a utilitarian carrier of a subjective experience. Really. All right. So the subject's moving through, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. But when it moves through, it also enlivens, the brain and everything. And then there's sentience. There's a very low-level sentience. So the brain, and it triggers mental states. Not in the beginning when you're a baby, but as you develop, the brain develops, mental states start happening. You have memories when you don't have any when you're a baby and stuff like that. Memories, and then there's thoughts. lots of thoughts, and then perceptions. So you're perceiving a lot, and you're aware of perceiving, where a kid's perceiving the baby, but it's not aware that the baby's perceiving, it's just perceiving. So the baby is very, very little object and mostly subject. That's what's so attractive, really. When you look at a kid's eyes, it's mostly subjects. Yeah? Yeah, so subjects moving through the object, and then the mental state arises, and then it senses the subject and actually projects the object, and so it tries to attribute the subject to the object. So now, when you say I'm seeing, the eye really represents a body. Yeah? That's the seeing is sort of is manifest. The seer of the seeing is manifest as a body. That's how it's pictured. Yeah. So what the subject comes through is now attributed to that. So now there's a confusion with subject-object. And that subject-object projects that confusion, and that's duality. So duality here is like two poles of the same energy. Yes, no, hot, cold, yin-yang, connected, disconnected. There's basically a binary system almost. And so that binary system is based on the premise that's entertained here, subject-object, which I think they call it dualism when it's this little activity. So dualism projects itself as duality. Yeah? It's dreaming in a weird way, but we won't go there right now. So there's dreaming. So non-duality is just saying not to. It's simple. It's not like, not to, it's terrible, or it's, it just says not to, like a factual, condition, like you would say, hey, it's raining, I mean, you're not going, it's raining, you're noticing. So there's people that come before us who have noticed that this looks like it's a format, really. It's not what we are thinking or assuming. And so let's not question everything else from this, but question this. Let's just check this out, see if it's true or not. And so one of the earliest written scriptures in the world were the Vedas from India. And in them, they talk about this, they would use a technique called self-inquiry, where they would have the assumed object, using the subjectivity, to ask the other assumed subject, who am I? Yeah? So they would both negate each other, and then you would be left with what is. Yeah? Or you at least get a hint of what is, and then that system would regroup, but now the hand would be a little suspicious of the glove, It wouldn't be suspicious of the glove as the glove. It would be it would be a healthy suspicion from the hand. The hand would go, wait a minute, yeah? I'm in this glove, but I'm not of this glove, maybe. Wow, that's incredible. Incredible, really. And that possibility lends itself to a lot of downloads, a lot of revelations, really. Because now you've entertained the idea that there is more than this system that I've been living under, this system of self-centeredness, subject, object, all this, yeah? And in fact, there is none of that. It's a negation of that. It's saying there isn't this two. It wasn't like this, the two has to be destroyed and then thrown into the fire and come out as the one. It doesn't say any of that. It just says the two there's not two. There's only two when we're in this confusion, yeah? When the subject has been wedded to the object and we're giving the object the attributes of the subject. And it just clears that up. And then you'll see, instead of looking for what you are, because you'll come across certain writings maybe if you entertain these ideas, non-duality. It's not a huge resource. It's not like a religion. It's not like it has a certain substantial stuff, and it's insinuated or implied in other areas, but it's not a big, huge, I'm gonna have to go through zillions of editions. No, it's not popular, so to speak. Yeah. So but if you run into it, you're gonna hear certain statements that are going to allude to this fact that what you're not is probably the most important to see. Yeah, because the assumption is you are what you're looking for, but not as that which is looking. Yeah, so it's a negation of Paul, the way Paul is pictured by the memory and the thoughts, the way Paul is assumed and insinuated to be so, the way Paul gets its reinforcement by I was Paul and I'm gonna be Paul, therefore I must be Paul now. Or why the fuck am I worrying about this stranger called Paul 20 years from now? I mean, it would make no sense unless there was a continuum that I should be worried about, like I'm worried about this right now. Yeah, if at one point it turned into a complete stranger, there'd be a reassessment, I would imagine. You know what I mean? You would pull all the concern from and you wouldn't give a shit where that fucking star flew. You know what I mean? You're concerned about you. Yeah, that's the drive. So the whole thing is, I was you, and you have memories and so forth. You have other people, yes. This is how you looked when you were a baby. What? This is how, this and that. This is when you have acne. Oh, I hated that part, that phase. All this. And then, of course, then you think, most of your thoughts and concerns and ideas of security about you in the future meaning the next second from now, whatever. So the head, the mental processes, and accompanied by interest and thought, because that's really what provokes it all. Yeah, it gives weight and light to it, really. So this whole system is implying we're a body. Yeah. So every time we feel like we're the subject, it's framed as a body, as an object. So it's even using the subjectivity to reinforce that it's an object. Because in a lot of spirituality, they have a simple statement, and it's in the Bible. It says, I am, supposedly God, one of the things says, I am that I am. So I am is the subject, I am. And yet the subject is used to imply that there's Paul. Yeah, so it gets a perfect, ringing endorsement by the subject all day through the mental shenanigans. So the mental shenanigans is ringing the bell of Paul all day. I am. Yeah, that's true, Paul. And so how does the I am get switched with Paul? Because I was Paul puts Paul first. I will be Paul puts Paul first. And therefore I am Paul now is again first. So Paul is that I am. Yes, in a weird way. So there's this ongoing, some people call it a trance, some people call it a delusion, some people call it Maya, some people call it the grand illusion, a lot of things. There's a lot of names for it. But we're basically dreaming this idea of being a thing, yeah? We're not, that with the subject's dreaming it, yeah? So, you can't really say, you can say we're dreaming it, and then in a way, sitting right here looking at all of you, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it, wouldn't be helpful. Because the dreamt, of course, is the mental state's going to claim to be the hearer of the message that it's the dreaming, but it's going to frame it as the dreamt. That's why it very rarely arrives at paydirt. It always gets diverted, and it gets neutered, and it gets interpreted by the mental state claiming to be the hearer of it, or the reader of it, or the getter of it, or the experiencer of it. So it's always framing everything that comes its way with its frame. So we're not wasting time talking to you or me about what we are. We're really trying to describe what we're not so that what we are can hear it and go, hey, I may not be that. Yeah, because one of the times it was very clear in language and everything, it didn't happen, but one of the times this whole thing was very clear to me was involving a sentence in a book that I used to read a lot in AA in recovery called the big book. And it was a simple sentence, but I saw it in a new light, and it's never changed from then. And in my AA world, everything I attempt to frame in AA is based on that, really. Which it says, hey, being convinced, now this is, being convinced, I would say your innermost, not convinced, not this. Yeah? So let's say the subject is convinced that something has defeated it by its manifestations through the body. Yeah? So it says, being convinced that self, and the feeling of self, in my view, is the attributing the subject to the object. Yeah. So let's say it that way. Yeah. So being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. Okay. Then it goes, if that's true, we're going to look at its common manifestations, meaning selves. And so when I saw self as other than me, or like a pathogen or demonic possession, whatever you want to call it, but I saw it as other, that opened up a huge possibility. Yeah, it was like the key that was needed. That's why my whole basis of recovery is, I believe, it's the act of being identified as what you're not, is what alcoholism lives on. And then it manifests through us and defeats us by the manifestations, because we keep calling them ours. You know? So we're in the act of being identified as what we're not. So the solution would be to see that which you're identified with as other. I mean, it's just obvious. So the solution is born from the problem in a way. So the problem is, hey, Stanley keeps manifesting through me, and every time I notice it, I call them mine, and fuck, I don't particularly like it. So I bet, it would probably behoove me to see these manifestations as Stanley's, so that maybe they wouldn't have a carte blanche, access through me into my life to fucking defeat me. Yeah, maybe I could sort of stop Stanley at the door and say, what do you got? Like TSA at the airport, check in, what's this? What's the, you know what I mean? Stop it, check them, and fucking take those things out. Resentments, fears, whatever. So, put them over there. You got too much bile, fucking, vindictiveness, fuck it. So, being convinced that self, so I saw it as other, so very cool. And in the seeing of it as other, because most of the seeing is claimed to be you seeing. So, you see a lot of others, but you don't see you as other. You don't see you as other, you see a lot of others. It's very busy seeing others and taking inventories and fucking like that of the others, but it's not seeing, it's an other that's claiming to be the seeing. It's fucking, what a wild. So now you're seeing it. You're seeing it. Wait a minute. You don't say like that. To me, it was just it was a rude awakening, but in a really wonderful way. So I saw it as not me, and therefore, then suddenly, a possibility dropped in. I can be free from it. Wow. So that was the key. And then it explained to me in a flash by just going over a number of my behaviors since I was 6 till the present day at that time. It didn't take any time at all. It was just whoop. I saw that I'd been trying to be free as it, for it, by it, through it, when the freedom is from it. And then it's even better, because if that which you're free, that which you need freedom from isn't real, then the freedom is really inherently available at all times, with no requirement necessary. I mean, let the logic go to its endpoint, If my freedom is based on being from that, and that doesn't actually exist, it's just this taking itself to be that, and when this attention and interest is withdrawn from that, it doesn't completely withdraw, because this has to keep, it's a puppet, glove has to keep being animated, But I'm not totally into the fucking story of the glove anymore. So it's been withdrawn, so you're seeing what you're not. Yeah? And then, so I saw that, and I saw I've been trying to get out of me as me my whole life. I don't know what happened. I don't know. From that day on, this has happened. That's basically what happened. Yeah? Another possibility became available, not to that which I'm not, but to what I am. And what I am can go a long, long, long way with just a small possibility. Because it's true, first of all. Yeah? And you know, most of the day, we're making false evidence to appear real. Can you imagine if you really put that ability onto what's real? It would be a fucking good marriage in heaven. Reality, lending reality to reality would be awesome. Instead of reality, forgetting yourself and lending reality to unreality. Yeah, it's a nice move. So now, and it continues to do that, but now the reality has been lent to reality. Yeah, so, and maybe you entertain it, which is what happened with me, and then it just verifies itself. It feels like it. Yeah, it feels like it so much that I was really keen on getting out of here. I was. I mean, I demonstrated with how far I would go with drugs and everything else, and with spiritual practices. I mean, I wasn't a super lightweight. I went to a couple of continents, meditated in fucking weird settings for long periods of time, had earnestness and sincerity. I was committed. I had a practice I did for years, and I was willing to be asked to do more, and I was willing to show up for it. Yeah. And one day, I saw through all that. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just, for the intention I thought it had, it's not the right thing for me. Yeah? Now, maybe there are people here who are really sincere and are going to become super, quote-unquote, spiritual, as much as a body, mind can. But I'm not in that category. Once I feel satisfied and content, I'm not going to fucking sit 13 hours on a pillow, just because I don't see the point. I really don't. It never changes anything anyway. So I might as well just stay around where I'm going to end up anyway. And you know, a lot of people, because the head's playing God, can't take the chance. You see, they think they're blowing it if they stop. You know, they don't even. The calling isn't a true calling. It's peer pressure and mental pressure. The mental pressure says, you gotta. It's like you gotta meditate like you do yoga. I mean, physical. You know, you can't miss a day. You start writing it down. I did an hour today. It's just unbelievable. And then it just provokes more of what you're not, getting agitated. And so, in my case, a mundane life works really good. Yeah, I do not want to see like an old galleon at the shore and going on a Homeric journey. My head will have a fucking field day. About me going to, the thrift store keeps it in a forced humility. You know what I mean? It's very good. It's very cool. Because it doesn't have much to bite. It's just, and after a while, it just gives up. Because it hasn't had a good spiritual state in years. It's just fucking, not getting anything. So, and yet something flourishes, which is beautiful. And you couldn't map this out. You couldn't map it out how it pans out. You couldn't. Because it goes contrary to the logic quite a lot, the mental logic. It's a loss of interest in things, really. It's more of a dispersed, relaxed sense of onness, not a concentrated, focused, vigilant, fucking samurai warrior onness. Though that can happen here, but this doesn't suit this. It's more just, you're just here because you can't be anywhere else, really. And you're not trying to get into the moment because you've realized you can't be out of the moment. So all these things that seem to provoke a heroic effort, just you've seen through it, and you are what you've been looking for the whole time. You just have to see what's looking isn't you. See? Lose interest in that what's looking, then you'll lose interest in all the fucking journeys it's planning. Which it's going to star in, really. Yeah? I mean, it takes a long time to become a knower of God, and the emphasis is on the knower most of the time. Yeah, so this is like I said, you couldn't. First of all, it goes against profit. You can't make a business much out of it because you're not. All right, we're going to have the platinum club is going to do its yearly 3-month retreat. We don't have a fucking day retreat. Yeah, I mean, if you can't retreat from you, there's no point of a retreat. If you're there, the one thing you need to retreat from is there at the retreat. So you might as well sort of catch it off guard by not doing a retreat. Yeah, that's my view. So, and the simplest way to say it is, there's a number of them, but I like the hand in the glove idea. So let's say, you're in this world, but in this world of the hand in the glove, there's only one sense, and that's feeling. So everything, just like the shark, people think the shark's out to attack them. It can only meet you with its mouth, It doesn't have hands to fucking rub on you. It's just, that's how it, unfortunately to us, but that's the only way you can sort of have an experience is by biting, really, So there's one sense which is feeling, and that feeling is interpreted through a thick, rough glove, like 80 grit glove, yeah? And so now the hand is reading the old scriptures of this world as the glove, and the scriptures are describing heaven is like falling into a vat of 1,000 rose petals. Yeah, so you really would like to have that experience, but you're trying to get the experience through the glove, yeah? And the glove's touching everything, and everything really feels like rough, because the glove is interpreting everything. That which is being experienced isn't overriding the experiencer. The experiencer is overriding the experience. Yes? This is the dilemma. So the glove is going to interpret everything. So even when you go to get to heaven, you'll feel the rose petals. It won't translate. All you can be ended up is like become a fucking fundamentalist. You don't have any sense of it, but you're fucking sure the hell you're the fuckers. You know what I mean? You get weird, yeah, because you don't get what you were looking for, really. Yeah, and there's been a huge investment, so you don't want to lose spiritual faith either. So all right, so now the glove finally realizes it must be I can't fucking feel it. And it may be, if it investigates just a little, it's going to end up, hey, it's the glove. So, all right, so now the glove, sounds wonderful, wants to get out of the glove. It sounds great, but it can't. Like a car can't get out of a car. A passenger can, but a car can't. It can't get out of itself. So the glove is a very jealous system. It really sort of captures the hand. It's the hand in a weird way playing it, but the glove seems to take on, it's like Al in 2001. Hal sort of takes over the fucking mission and starts giving the orders, yeah? So the glove is now telling the hand how it's like, yeah? So now the glove hears the message, maybe you're not a glove, so the glove gets a little confused. How can I not be a glove? All right, but I tried everything else to get out of a glove. I'll try to get out of a glove as the glove. Yeah, and there's a lot of people that will assist you to try to get out of their glove as a glove. So, but I found it's pointless to try to talk to the glove about the hand. But I do believe at the same time, you can speak to the hand about the glove. Yeah, it's all a matter of, it looks like the exact same invitation, but it's the target. Yeah. So we're attempting to throw it to everywhere, which you can't miss. So you can toss it up, look behind you and everything like that. You believe you're the one, you're here listening, but that's the story going on. We're not trying to convince the story. We're just trying to get it through the story to what you are. So suddenly now the hand heals, just like I heard in that night, I saw self wasn't me. The hand sees the glove, and it sees, hey, I'm not that. And suddenly, finally, Eureka, the hand gets the realization that was so sorely needed, which is I can be free from the glove. The hand can pull out of the glove. The glove trying to get out of the glove is, fucking unbelievable. But the hand is just a possibility, pulls out, and maybe, so in a timeless moment, it's out of the glove. But then time kicks back in, the dream continues, so now it's in the glove, but now it's not the glove, yes? And he realized it's never been the glove, nor will it ever be the glove. So all the shit that was reinforcing the identification is now like trying to advertise the identification. It's different, see? If the identification is in place, everything is reinforcing it. If it isn't, it's now an advertising. You see the vacuum cells when they come to the door. And if you don't have any rugs, you don't need the fucking vacuum. So it's the things that you just assumed to be so are now seen in another light. Yeah? And so now the system, which got quite lazy because, it can't believe how fucking it got away with it all these years. It sort of got fat and out of shape. Now it's got to dig in the old guns. You're unlovable. You'll never, whatever. But now you see it as a giant advertisement, not as a reinforcement of something that's already so. It's trying to imply something so. And so I saw it. I saw it before its production was completed. Yeah, I saw it. I saw the advertising. I saw, because it's been resting on the fact that when it says you're fucked, you feel like you've been historically fucked. See? It's the advertising isn't slick, really, because it's just been a habitual reinforcing of the suggestion that's already been taken to be true. Now there's been a questioning of it, and it's advertising, though it has some big, good, old golden oldies. Most of the superfluous shit loses any kind of sway. So there are swaths of time that you're not being reinforced as what you're not. So what you are is seeing the whole kit and caboodle, the whole pantomime, the whole use of time, like a magic trick. It's like going, you've been under a spell, and then suddenly someone explains how the spell is built, so to speak. Yeah? So you're out of the spell, and you're seeing how the spell was made. Yeah, you see it. You see, oh, fuck. Yeah, so, yeah. So it's not reinforcing anymore. It's a whole new. It's got to find new pitches, and it's run out of balls. I mean, it doesn't have that many new ones. It says, "I'm gonna get you," or whatever. You're sort of like, whatever. It weakens. Yeah, the system weakens because it's very, very good if the assumption's been swallowed. Just pile on and reinforce and assume, insinuate. It's much more difficult to convince the light that it's not the light. It's very much more difficult. It can convince the mental state, easily. Yeah, just like, people convince you all day, just by one look and shit like that. You go back to a belief that you're a loser or shit like that. Yeah, yeah. But now that thing has been removed and it's the land shock, yeah. So it's got you have the product isn't in place. Yes. It's not like selling you 50 new bags for the vacuum cleaner. Yeah? Its whole pitch is based on you already are. It's like you got a rug. Yeah? You need this vacuum. Yeah? And now you've seen it as rugless, and it's like the example I used to use was perfect. I was in Turkey, and I was in like a guest house, and I got together with a couple people that were just there, and we went down to the area, and there's these two great things, the Blue Mosque and the Sophia or something, and they're not far away. They're in this big flat area in Istanbul, and one of them is a super old mosque, and then this other one is a trip. It used to be a mosque, and one time they were cleaning it, like, I don't know, in the 1500, 1600, and they realized there was mosaics underneath it, and it was a Christian church in the beginning, like the couple 100, 200 AD, after Christ. There was a giant Christian place. Turkey actually has more Christianity in it than you imagine. Mary supposedly died there, and St. Paul, all the apostles used to hide out in Turkey, in what's called Turkey. Yeah. So we're there, and this guy, very nice looking guy, gray, white, black pepper hair, nice sharkskin suit, says, hey, he speaks very good English, I'll show you around. Of course, I'm a little suspicious, okay, he seems to be good. Shows us around, and then we see everything, and then he takes us to this brick building, knocks on this side door, and a guy looking just like him shows up. We never see the first guy, and we're brought into a rug store, which, Oriental rugs are huge, Turkish, unbelievable. So we go in there, and first they offer you like Turkish coffee or apple juice, and I'll have apple juice. And then you sit, and then a number of guys that look just like the second guy come in with rugs, and they're throwing them, and the light's hitting them, and they're throwing them on the floor. And as long as you stay there and don't buy something, they'll just perform and keep giving you apple juice and Turkish coffee. And I was there a couple of hours with this group, and but I was traveling around the world. I didn't have anywhere to live. So I had no need for a rug, yeah? So I had an incredible immunity to the sales pitch because I didn't have a place to live. And the guy was telling me, well, we can fold the rug up and put it in your knapsack. I go, I'm not going to Thailand with a fucking Oriental rug in my bag. But thanks a lot for the show and the apple juice, really. Because it was a great show. It was, and I drank a lot of apple juice. But I wasn't moved one bit to buy the rug because I was flawless, F-L-O-O-R. I didn't have a flaw. So the whole sales pitch was based on I had a place to put the fucking rug. If that's removed, I'm not going to be motivated to buy the rug. And all I'm saying is that, see, if you weaken the flaw that's so assumed and reinforced, yeah, if that weakens by your loss of interest in it, because it's imagined, it's not a real flaw, you're not a thing, yeah. You're not going over an incredible fact or trying to transform that fact into a better fact. It's not a fact. It's imagined in a way. So let's see how much shit you're going to buy to put on an imaginary flaw. Probably not much. I don't know. It's worked out that way for me. I lost interest in it, because I'm not it, really. I mean, the whole thing, we're constantly resuscitating it all day. We are. I mean, and it's purposeful. The dreaming obviously is happening. So for the dreaming to happen, a lot has to seemingly be forgotten. So I'm all for that. I'm fine with it. I don't see it. I don't see any problem in the dreaming. I have no interest in getting out of the dreaming whatsoever, because I realize I can't get out of an imaginary place. And especially as the imaginary person in the imaginary place. So I could get out of the imaginary place if I was real, but unfortunately, I'm part of the furniture in the imaginary house. So I've lost interest in that. So here we are, Wednesday night. Hopefully entertaining possibilities, yeah. Because in some ways we may not have the ability to get the freedoms that are afforded here, because usually there's a lot of requirements, maybe money, maybe this, yes, maybe that, da-da-da-da-da. But we can be free from that. You know? We can be free from the slavery of having to want to be free or need to be free. Yeah. So to me, the real relief was I lost interest in the need to be liberated, because I didn't see on that which needs to be liberated. There is something going on that needs to be liberated, but it's impossible. Yeah? It's impossible. The agitation, that's its nature. It's agitated. So selfing, because it's a verb, can't stop, or a lot's revealed. It's got to keep going. Yeah? The selfing has to keep going. When it stops, there's space, emptiness. Yeah? So the verbing or agitation has to beget agitation. That's what it does. It lives in a drive of wanting to be something it believes it's not, and wanting to not be something it believes it is. So it's assuming that it's something it doesn't want to be, and it's hoping it could be something that it isn't. So it's just on, just like a slinky that drives itself. This thing pulls this, goes on and on, in time. Now, to waste any, like a great Zen statement was, you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. So in a way, you can't use agitation to arrive at stillness. That would be agitation. So what happens if this arrives at the idea of stillness, it'll be agitated around them, the idea. So people are agitated around the word awakening or enlightenment, when actually the meaning of the words are meant to soothe. What's claiming to be the hero of the words uses it to provoke more agitation. So, in certain circles, the word enlightenment has driven a lot of fucking people crazy. At these type of meetings, it has. I've watched it, I've seen it. Yeah, we would have been better off if we had never heard it. Really, we would have just been blissfully ignorant of the spiritual jargon. We would have been better off. But all that seems to have been done can be undone. And it doesn't even, half the time, it doesn't even have to be undone. You just see through it. Yeah? And why would you want to waste so much time on doing shit that's going to end soon? Anyway. I mean, really. You're going to pass away. And this will be like it never happened. I mean, I wouldn't be like, building huge. It's just going to be... live as if like what you are. Appreciate what's coming and going as what's coming and going. And might as well. Yeah. So, yep. You hear anything? If you start hearing stuff, not like, kill them all. Hearing like vibrational stuff, humming, just go with that, man. Rest there. It's incredible. Instead of listening to thoughts, you can listen to like a generator humming. It's much there'll be a lot more value out of that than all the thoughts. Yeah. You can feel it in the room. It's got a nice sense. That's all. It's all of us, like eking out a little. Yeah. Yeah. So hey, that's it. Well, no questions. Eh? No. When the answer's in the room, there's no point to ask questions. Bro, just fucking access the answer. Why go around the whole thing? Just sort of. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll pass the basket.